This is the KD7, an incredibly versatile 7-inch Cinelifter that can be an X4 or an X8 configuration with top or bottom mounted battery options and 4 different camera mount positions, meaning you can mount almost any camera you like. It also has naked Blackmagic camera mounting, and using my new I-beam design, it is incredibly stiff while only coming in at 263 grams, making it one of the lightest 7 inches in its class. What does that mean for the strength? Well, like its big brother, I can still stand on it, and it's hardly flexing at all. I'm going to show you some flight footage, then all the features of the frame, go over some tips and tricks on how to build it and where you can buy one. And here it is, the KD7. Just look at that. So it's got the same super low profile I-beam design as the KD9, but this one's only 20mm tall, so it's really slim and compact. The whole thing is super small, and the great thing about this 7-inch Cinelifter frame is all of the options. So you can see here it's in the X4 configuration, so this would be something like a Blackmagic Micro 4K G2. It's really, really good with that. Top mounted battery on here, and you can just see how the motors are attaching in there. But if I bring out the X8 version as well, you can see this with the 8 motors there running the X-Novas on here. Again, super low profile, very compact, you know, nice and light, under a kilo for the X8 build. So really, really nice. And obviously you've got your mounting for the camera on here and your battery mounting on the bottom with a battery plate. Battery plate available separately if you want it for the X8 version. And you've got your battery slots on there as well. And then you've got your battery mounting on the top. And you can just have it flat on the bottom of these little 3D printed feet that are included as well in the kit. Put your battery on top there. So 2 really nice build configurations for this. And I'd run the X4 with the Blackmagic Micro G2, as I said, fantastic for that, and then Komodo FX6 type thing on the X8, and you get really, really good performance out of both. And using the I-beam design, again, it is incredibly stiff. The whole thing is ridiculously solid. You can't feel any flex at all when you try and bend it, so the whole thing flies really nicely. You can get a great tune on it, and it performs fantastic. Now, if we have a look at the mounting options for camera mounts, KD7 light here, and there are 3 different positions that this can go in. So first one there at the front, then you've got one slightly further back, and then you can put it in the middle there if you want to put your camera on the top and your battery on the bottom with these slots here. And then if you want to use the full-size KD7, that can go on right here, and it just fits on super nicely, and then you can bottom mount your battery as well, or even top mount it if you want to use a smaller camera on here. But it basically just gives you loads and loads of different options. And then you can also see here that there are the naked Blackmagic mounting holes if you want to go that way as well. So if I bring back the X8, again, KD7 right on top of there, or DAC mount if you want, same mounting pattern. And you've got that full-size camera mount, full battery on the bottom, and you can fit your Komodo or FX6 or Blackmagic or whatever you want on top of there, and you've got loads of space, the props clear the mount, got loads of room to work with, and it all fits very nicely. Now the KD7 will actually fit 8-inch props, and you can see there's enough clearance to fit 8-inch props on here. Now you can't use naked Blackmagic if you're using 8-inch props, because the cage will hit, but if you're using KD7 Lite or KD7 and any cameras on there, you can absolutely use 8-inch props. So if you want to make a really speedy or really efficient version, get yourself some 8-inch props, put some big motors on here, and you'll have a beast. But I really like the 7-inch setup. It's nice and light, compact, and it flies amazing. And the thing that I like most is just this super low profile, but you've still got access to everything you need. So if we zoom in here, you can see the wires just routing in. You've got your hard-mounted XT60 or XT90 prints included for both on the back. And then over here, you've got access to your flight controller USB right in there. And there are lots of different mounting options, so you can mount the flight stack here for X4, or you can mount your two ESCs here for X8 in the back and the flight controller in front, and you'll have access through the side to the USB either way. Lots of different mounting options, 20 by 20, 25 by 25, etc. And you'll see that later on in the assembly guide. We've also got these two SMA antenna mount holes on here, where you can mount your O3 or O4 antennas or Vista antennas or any video transmitter you want to use. And then lots of different places where you can zip tie antennas, like I've got my ELRS here, you can put your Crossfire, whatever you want. GPS on the back, so many different options, you can put things all over this frame. Now in terms of flight time, obviously it really depends on how you fly and what battery you use, but a few quick benchmarks. On the X4 with the Blackmagic Micro 4K G2, really like this camera, it's really nice, and a 6S3000, I'm getting over 10 minutes of cruising around, and then sort of 5 minutes of really hard, aggressive flying. So you've got really, really good flight time with a nice battery in this camera. And that's really good considering the sort of 500-gram camera that you're carrying on top. And with the X8 and Komodo, sort of 1200-gram setup with the lens, and a 6S 5200 on the bottom, I'm getting over 8.5 minutes flight time cruising around, and again sort of 3 to 4 minutes of hard aggressive flying, and you've got loads of nice control. It's really responsive with the small 7-inch props, 2808, 1350 kV motors on here, but obviously you can use whatever you want. But both are really, really nice setups for their respective cameras. And both can be built from the exact same frame kit. Just buy a different camera mount or buy the battery plate if you want to use an X8. But everything else is exactly the same. You can swap in between, and you can have a really versatile setup with this drone. And so looking at the motor mounting, you can see on the X8 you've got the mounted top and bottom, and if you're doing the X4 you just don't have one on top or one on bottom. You can mount either, whichever way you like, and it can be both at the same time. And so with the exact same frame kit, it just gives you the option for X4, X8, and it's super easy to swap. So for a quick size comparison, here's the classic Shen Drones thick 7-inch next to the KD7, and as you can see, it is larger in both dimensions. So this is how I run my Blackmagic 4K G2. You can see on here, got loads of space on the top for the camera and the battery. Really adjustable, battery can go further forward, further back, depending on your tilt. And with the wide 7.5mm lens, you can go down to 0 degrees and have no props in view. So it's really nice for that if you have the camera mounted at the front, and it will balance really nicely with the battery at the back. And you can use smaller battery, move it further forward or back, or you can put the camera in one of the center positions and mount your battery on the bottom. It just fits super nicely, it's super compact. The whole thing is really low profile, you know, between the top of the antennas and the bottom of the frame. And again, you've got these nice little landing feet to keep it protected when you put it down. This setup is super fun, and paired with the KD50X and a Whoop, it goes really, really nicely for this camera. It's really compact and it's so versatile. And then for the Komodo setup, same thing. Camera on the top there with the KD7, battery on the bottom, battery plate, straps on there to keep it all off the ground nicely. The whole thing is really, really compact. Again, low profile, super strong, and of course you can go all the way down to 0 degrees with no props in view. No problem at all. You could even turn the mount around and go negative with both frames and get some negative angle and still have no props in view on the right lenses. So it's a really versatile frame for all sorts of different cameras. So let's have a look at what you get in your KD7 package. I've got a couple of battery straps, some stickers, your 4 arms, your hardware pack, and then your bubble wrapped top and bottom carbon plates. So if you put those aside, open this up, you've got your sticky battery pad, you've got your 3 screw packs, you've got your XT60 and XT90 hard mounts, and then in here you've got all your standoffs and your 3D prints. So if we take a closer look at these, got 3 of them here. This main one has all the press nuts for the camera mounts, all the M3x8 countersunk screws for putting the 2 plates together. It's also got the M3x12 button head screws for the feet, these little parts in here. And then it also has some M2.5x8 screws for the XT60 hard mount print for attaching that. And then it has some M3x12 countersunk screws for the XT90 hard mount, and they go in there into the 3D print if you want to use that as well. In here you've got your stack mounting, so your M3x20 countersunk screws for your ESC and flight controller. You've got some nylon nuts, some steel nuts for hard mounting the stack properly, and then you've also got all the steel nuts that go in the arms. And then lastly, we've got the motor pack with all the M3x6 button head screws for the motors, and this is enough for the X8 configuration as well, and then all those washers if you need extra space so that your motor screws don't touch the windings on the motors. So here are your carbon parts for the frame. And the first thing you want to do is prepare your arms. So if you have a look at these, you'll see there are 4 little slots in each of them. And what we want to do is take our M3 nuts and position them into these slots. And you'll notice sometimes one side is easier to put in, and that's just because of the way it's machined. So find that side, put it in, and then you'll see it'll get captivated by the other side. And it's a nice snug fit in there. And then do that for all 4 of them. And then you'll have a part that looks like this, with these 4 captive nuts. And for the X4 version, I like to build everything on the top plate. And so we're going to take these arms and line them up with these slots in here and slot them in, and then take some M3x8 countersunk screws, and with these countersunk holes on the other side, going to screw them in nice and tight, and there are 2 per arm, and then that locks into the nut like so, and that creates an incredibly secure right angle mount. And then you want to do that with the other arms in all 4 positions. And then once you've mounted the arms in, you want to put the standoffs, and there are 6 in the body, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and then 3 on the end of each arm. Put your camera mount prints at the front, and then you can put your XT60 or XT90 hard mount at the back. You've got all of your press nuts here, M3 and M4 press nuts. You want to do that right at the start to make sure that you don't have to sort of squeeze in there and do them afterwards. You can put all of them in, or you can just use the ones that you're actually going to use for your mounting. I like to just put all of them in so that I have the option afterwards. You can see them all here, and those M4 ones over there, and that makes it nice and easy to swap mounting positions for your camera. So then once you've got all 4 of the arms, the standoffs and the prints installed, then you can move on to all the electronics. I would mount the battery straps at this point. So if you're top mounting here, you can put them through, and it's just a little easier doing them now before you put the wiring in. You can also do it after, and it's not too difficult. My preferred mounting is to have the stack in the middle here, ESC, flight control stacks on top in this mounting. I've got the USB here, so easy access out the side, as you can see there. I've got the O3 up front, and there's this sort of diamond mounting pattern. I prefer to just use VHB sticky tape, but of course you've got these holes here if you want to, and you can just use some screws to mount it directly onto there. But the 3M VHB double-sided is super strong, and I've never had it come off. I've got my BEC here for 8 volts for the camera, and then I've just wired that round here I've got my ELRS receiver on top of that, my ELRS 2.4 antennas over here, and then the SMA, UFLs to SMAs going round here from the O3, and 10 or 15 centimeter ones are good. You can get away with 10 and 15, you just have a little bit of slack here that you can move around. I've got my capacitors for the ESC and for the flight controller mounted back here, and then the hard mounted XC60, as you can see, just mounted in the back like that, straight to the ESC. Nice short cables for all of that there. And I've taken power for the BEC, battery voltage, off here, and that's running to my BEC right there and then out to the camera. Motor mounting is very straightforward. You've just got these mounts here, you screw in from this side, and depending on the motors, some are fine, some of them, as you can see, the motors will stick out, so I've provided some washers in the kit, 4 per motor that you can use for the motor screws, because the carbon is 2.5mm instead of the 3mm on the KD9. So those are in there if you need them. Some motors don't need them, some motors do. You just don't want your screws touching the coil windings, and it just depends on the motor brand. I've got my GPS mounted here, and I like to just have that on top of the arm here, back near the motor. It doesn't really get any interference. The new M10 GPS chips are fantastic. You can see the SMA mounts on here, and you can see how the motor wires, I just tuck them round the side and then zip tie them here and on here, and they just go along the arm right into the ESC like that. And those are all your components. You get some super sticky battery pad included. I like to put it here and then under the battery slots and then under the battery straps like that, and keep it nice and secure for the battery, especially when you're sort of cantilevering it over the back. And you get a really nice big one included in the kit, so you'll have plenty. You can put it on the top and the bottom if you want. For DJI O3, I like to have the USB coming out this way, just so it's super easy to plug in like that. You can see there, and then obviously the bind button on there. You can reach for some tweezers or do it during the build. And you can see I've mounted the Express LRS just on these wires here, and it's super nice and tidy. And then the BEC fits nicely between these 2 press nuts. Now, it can help to install the press nuts in the right position. If you have them both on an angle so the pointy bits are facing in, the Maytag BEC might not fit, but you can, if you orient them in the right way, you can easily fit this in between there and it's no problem. If you're mounting the O3, then there's just one hole in the middle, super simple. I like to use the bottom screw hole for the O3, and then you've just got the full range of motion, no problem at all, and it fits in there really nicely. But whatever camera you're using should be able to fit on there. And any new cameras that come out in the future, I'll do new camera mounts if required, if they don't fit on there already. So it's a reasonably straightforward build, lots of space for everything you can need. And then what you want to do is take your bottom plate, if you're building the X4, and put it on like this, slot it in to all of the slots. Like so, and then take your M3x8 countersunk screws and screw it all together. Now lastly, you have these little 3D printed feet with the M3x12 button head screws, and those are just going to go on the corners here. And here, but you can actually put them wherever you want. I just like putting them on these corners. And there it is, KD7X4, mount your antennas, put your camera mount, battery and camera on, put your props on, and away you go. Now for the X8 version, it is actually exactly the same as the KD9, so I'll link that video down in the description. You can go to the assembly guide there and just follow the instructions there, and it is exactly the same. All the mounting options, they're all the same, and the way you build it is the same. Basically, I like to build everything on the bottom plate with the ESCs stacked here in the back, and then the flight controller here up front. You can still access the USB, motors mounted on the bottom plate, and then motors on the top plate mounted with MR30 connectors, so you can just plug them all in and put the top plate on, and it's only motors on the top plate, and that's it. But again, go over to the KD9 video, follow the assembly guide there, it'll be exactly the same. So if you want to buy a KD7 frame kit, which can be an X8 or an X4, if you want to buy the camera mounts, battery plates, all of that, just go on my website, link is in the description below. I'm really looking forward to seeing what all of you do with this frame. It's got so many different options, and I've had great fun designing and flying it.